Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and I do fountain pen reviews and inks and all that kind of thing. And you know, when I started carrying fountain pens more often, when I went back to fountain pens because I realized, I really do just like those best. Why don't I just go all in, which clearly I have. One of the things that I noticed was, what am I supposed to do when I'm wearing a t-shirt or a polo? Because I wear those more often than I wear shirts with pockets. What do I do? I had no idea at the time that there were pocket fountain pens. And then I discovered the Kaweco Sport. And you know that I have worn one of those just nearly out, carrying that around in my pocket. Then I discovered fountain pens with really cool resin. And that gets a question going. Could there be pocket fountain pens with really cool resin? Could I combine these two favorites of mine? I think I can. This, many of you know as the Wancai Mini made by Majan, formerly known as the artist Moonman. And this particular fountain pen is an eyedropper as well. I think you can use this with cartridges. It's an eyedropper and it's a pocket pen. And it's made of some really cool resin. How many boxes of mine? The only thing better would be if this were made out of Galaxy Blue resin, which Pen BBS does. I don't have one, but Pen BBS does make that unicorn of a pen. So, do I like this pen? Do I like its resin? Do I like how it writes? What is it that I am bothering to make a video about today? Well, let's flip that camera and find out. Okay, so this is the Wancai Mini by Majan, a great little pocket pen. This one in resin. They have several that are in resin in different colors and then also in clear and colored acrylics. But these resin models are my favorites, as I'm sure you would have guessed. I don't know that the camera is going to do this justice. Let me put this on the little turntable and see if you can see some of the chatoyancy, depth, and shimmering effect inside that resin. Now, a pocket pen ought to be really handy, and that's going to include how many turns does it take for this cap to come off, and that would be 1 and about 1 1/4, so not too bad. And then, of course, it would be the same to make it into a usable length pen. I cannot. Let's look at ergonomics. I'm not going to use this at all unless I can put this on. And then it becomes a very good, manageable pen with plenty of length and good balance and no issue there. So I have to have that cap screwed onto the back, or the pen for me is just not useful. So be aware of that. That's something you're going to have to do as you take that on and put it on and take it off, put it on, all that good stuff, how many turns, yada, yada, yada. The grip section is made of the same resin, so that makes it kind of interesting. It shows up very differently because of being turned deeper into the pen, and these actually may be not matched pieces anyway, so you're going to get some variance even from piece to piece to piece. But well done, well polished, well turned, very nice, and there you can kind of see some of that shimmer within the finish. That's a little easier to see on the grip in this lighting. It comes with a number 5 Moonman, I'm going to say, because it's made from their old manufacturer and labeling, but a Majan nib, and I have good luck with those. This is a fine, but I will tell you that this one writes a bit dry and maybe a little bit more fine than most of my other Moonmans, but not in a bad way. It's fine, plastic feed, all of that good stuff. And as I mentioned, it is an eyedropper pen. You can use a short cartridge, but it's an eyedropper pen for the most part. That's the way I use it. And so it does have an O-ring. I'm going to try not to make a mess because this does have ink in it. See, there has an O-ring here to keep you from making too big a fool of yourself on camera and holds a decent amount of ink. And I've not really had any issues here with this pen as far as burping. That's always a question when it comes to eyedroppers. If you're not familiar, what happens is if the pressure in the pen and out of the pen are not, equalized well enough, then it will burp out ink from the feed here and you'll get a big glop of ink. I've had eyedroppers that did that, but not this one. I actually have had a couple of Moon Man pens and I haven't had that issue with either of them for whatever reason. It just doesn't seem to be an issue with the ones that I've got. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, very handy size pen, really nice resin, so that when you're using a pocket pen, you don't have to give up the nice lookingness of your pen. But it all comes down to this. It looks good, it carries well, it's interesting resin, it's a decent price, but can it write? Okay, no question about posting today. You can't write with this pen unless you have very, very tiny hands. So this is the Wancai Mini. This comes with a fine nib. And I have this inked with Private Reserve Chocolat. You longtime viewers know that I believe there is not enough brown ink in the world, and I'm slowly winning some of you over. Okay, not an overly wet nib, but this is wetter than I actually would have thought that it might be, and that you can see some of the shading in this ink. And if you look in the writing, the nib is a very standard fine nib, so most of this shading is really a product of the ink, and it looks really, I think, quite good. So I need to do a review of that ink, and I will, and when I do, I'll come back and put a link in this. This nib is nice and smooth. It does give kind of a pencil-like audible feedback. It's not very loud. My mic tends to overplay the sound of nibs, so don't read too much into that. Even the smoothest, it seems to really pick up. Really writes very well, and for such a small little handy pocket pen, you kind of forget as you're writing, you forget that that's what you're writing with, or I do. I don't really notice it, and that's good, because some pocket pens, they constantly remind you while you're writing that they are pocket pens. This pen really doesn't. You can completely forget and just go about your writing. Let's see if it keeps up very well. I like to do this just writing gibberish, because if it can keep up with this, it's probably going to keep up with anything that I write. And look at that. Just did extremely well. Not bad at all. Just maybe one little skip or a lift. That may be me, because it just did great. And this also shows you, let's just talk ink for a second. Look at that great shading in there again. Really like this ink. All right, let's do a little bit of a size comparison. That is, of course, the Wancai Mini. This is a perennial favorite, the Kaweco Ice Blue Sport, a very common pocket pen. The Oto Tasha. Look how it just falls down in there while these sit on top. Very small but handy little pocket pen. Another from Moon Man Majan is the old Moon Man 80 Mini, based on the old Parker 45 design, chopped off. And, of course, what comparison would be complete without a Fisher Bullet space pen? Not a fountain pen, but a great pocket carry pen. In fact, I had to go dig that out of my hunting clothes. And then when you have it posted, it is actually shorter than that Kaweco Sport. But as I said, a well-balanced pen. This is where you really start to see some breakaway is in the posted lengths of these pens. So do I recommend the Wancai Mini as a pocket fountain pen? Yes, I do. It looks great. I especially like this particular brown resin paired with that Private Reserve ink. And it's handy, good looking, good value, has a great reputation out in the fountain pen community, a lot of fun, and it's a fun collectible if you want to collect all the different colors. If that's kind of your personality, it's one of those kind of pens too, and has a following that way as well. All right. God bless you. Thank you very much for all the likes, subscribes, and the shares. And share this with somebody that you think might be interested in this pen. And I will see you in the next review and in the comments below.